Hi guys, let's continue our presentation about Java servlets and especially with the demonstration we started already. We have created a project like this new project and use the web application. After that we called it demo1 if you remember, and Glassfish has a server and without any framework we finished. Here we created a Java servlet. We can use servlet and we give it a name, servlet1. The package was a serve, and here we click next again. We add this information as we explained it about the path and the name of the servlet itself, and we make finish. Servlet is already created, it is already here in servlet package. And we have it here on the package is servlet. We're gonna clean up a little bit, and here is the servlet with two things, the request and response, and we use this request response in our methods. So let's see here, it's extending from HTTP servlet as we explained it in our course, and here we have the process request which is coming from here, from the do, get, and the post methods. When these methods receive something, they're gonna call the process request. This is the way that is already generated automatically by NetBeans. Or we can change the implementation as we want, and here let's just stick with what NetBeans is providing for us by default, and let's explore how to use these two objects, request and response. So here we have something already written about the response use. Let's add something like that. With the request, should do some operations, for example, as we described here. Here we have seen that the request is extended servlet request. And we have seen some methods like get parameter values, and get parameter names. Let's see one by one. Let's see this get parameter, for example, and print it. Let's start with the request get parameter. So we're gonna get the parameter, which means this method return just one of the values associated with a given parameter. So let's make a request, press dot. We have here a bunch of methods. Let's stick with parameter and we put the name, for example, something like first name. Show you how to use the parameters that are sent with the request itself. It's gonna be a string. We're gonna call it also first name. And we can use this first name here, for example, just to print something and see that we are receiving something from our request. Here is the response. And here we have the content type is an HTML document, and we'll write on this response.getWriter, we'll write this to be the content of the message that's gonna be sent to the client. That is the response, that is the request. We get something from the request and we process it, and then we send the information on the page, an HTML page, to the client. Let's have something like this, first name. We print just here the first name itself. Show that we are receiving something, by the way. So run the file and see, for example, if I have the first name like Osama and another first name KS, both of them, like let's see, okay, let's see like this. The servlet, we're gonna call the servlet. Now we're gonna run the web application, and at the same time we're gonna make a get request to the servlet with this parameter. Here's one parameter, first name, and here we have the first name is Osama, for example. When we click here, okay, so here we have the servlet. Oh, there is something wrong here in this first name, by the way. Let's see, first, there's something. First name. So we're gonna go back to our page. First name Okay, that's our first name. Be aware here, it's case sensitive. And also, let's describe a little bit the servlet URL we have added at the beginning. It's like that. We are calling this web server to this demo1, and we are asking the web server to send these two parameters to the servlet itself. And the answer we are getting here is the first name and the name we have here already. So that's how we use the get parameter here, this function get parameter. So let's move on and see something else. Let's see, for example, get parameter values, this one, and it is getting and returning a list of values corresponding to one parameter if the parameter, for example, is containing a list of something. Let's see a demonstration about this to see very closely what does it mean. It is returning, by the way, a string list. It's a list of strings. We're gonna call it first names, and we're gonna just receive the request dot get parameter, but here we're gonna get values for the parameter, and here is the same thing at the first name, but somehow we're gonna receive a list of parameters instead of one. Okay, so now we received our parameters, our parameter values, which means that the first name may contain more than one value. Here, for example, in the link we have sent, there is only one name, the first name equal Osama, but we can have a list of values that are associated with the first name. So let's see this closely. And by the way, I'm gonna go here in this section. We're gonna add out dot So here we are iterating our first names, and we are printing the parameter values that are associated with the first name. If we have many parameter values, many values in the same parameter, let's see here and run the file with one parameter. So there is just Osama as the parameter value associated with the first name. But imagine if we add something else, like add another parameter, first name, something like this. Here we have two parameters, two values associated with the same parameter, which is first name. Then here we are iterating over all of them and doing something. A notorious use case is when we receive, for example, a list of countries you have selected in a form or something. This list may contain more than one value for just one parameter. And here we are just using the link to illustrate what we are describing about requests and responses. But after this session, we're gonna see how to use forms and send information using the send button and so on. And it's gonna give you clear information about how to use these parameters. So here we described this and we used the get parameter values. After that, if we don't have any idea about the parameter names, we use this function, get parameter names. For example, if we want to iterate here and see how many parameters we're gonna have, of course we have just only one parameter. And let's see, it's an enumeration. It should be imported the list of parameter names. Get parameter names and we get all of them here in this list. After that, we may write something similar to what we have done already and iterate over everything and see that how many parameters we have. Let's see here, let's print to the client who sent us this request. List of parameters, it can be a while and has more element, and then that's the way how to iterate over that. Need here a string, it can be casted here. So for each time we're gonna print the parameter, list the parameter, that's a request. So let's flag the request like this, and let's say that is the parameter name, and also the parameter value, we're gonna add it after that. Next element is the parameter name, and we're gonna use the same thing with the other one. And here we're gonna just add a separator and say that parameter value. Right. So here, just to make things clear, and we're gonna call what? The request again to look for the names and get parameter, and we're gonna get the parameter, we're gonna string the first name, not the first name but next element as here. So we're gonna iterate over parameters, and for each parameter we're gonna get parameter value. So here we're gonna print for the user the parameter name and parameter values for all the parameters, even though if the user doesn't program statically the names of these parameters. So you may need it sometimes. So let's go ahead and run a file. Let's put two parameters. And let's see what we're gonna get. Okay, the first name, parameter value is Usama, and the last name. So there is something here, I'm mistaken here, but it's not a question mark, but of course it's the end. And we have here two parameters. So we are now iterating over all the parameters. There is first name and there is last name, and if we have other parameters, they're gonna show up here for sure. So let's add another one like age equal 28. Now we are just using this URL encoded values. After that we're gonna use forms, and things gonna start appearing for everybody. So here just we are adding everything to the link. If we add other parameters, we're gonna get all of them here. Let's move to the header. So there is also the same way, the same philosophy about this. If we don't know the header names, there is the header names to get all of them, get headers to get multiple values that are related to one header name. It's an enumeration of string. And get header if we know exactly what is the header we want to extract. So now we're gonna get all of them here in these get header names and iterate over all of them and printing everything to the client who is calling the servlet. So let's go ahead and now receive the list of header names from the request. So in this list of headers we have all the header names. So let's do the same thing, the same philosophy for all of them to print all the headers and the header information, the list of headers here. And we're gonna make the list of something. This the list of headers, and for each header okay, and it's the same thing except that here for the headers we have not get parameters, but get header. I think everything is here. Now when we run our request with 2 parameters, and we have here the first name, the last name, and the list of headers. So we have the host, we have keep alive information for the connection, and so on. So we can add headers, and we can also update the values if we need them. So that's all for the request response demonstration. We're gonna see further examples when we're gonna get to the forms and the rest of this course. There is also other stuff you may test at home, and if you need it one at a time, you're gonna find it. Also, we have a bunch of other functions and other information we can find easily here. For example, get and see, there is a lot of things: get remote address, get remote host, get remote port, and there is a bunch of other useful stuff here. That is, for example, to know who is sending this request, and you may need this, for example, to know what is the IP address of the client. I think it's all set now, and we have an idea about how to receive the request, how to extract data from the request, and how to manipulate the response object to send an answer to the client. So I hope you enjoyed. See you in the next part of the course. According to the planning we have here, it's gonna be about servlet life cycle. See you there.